Awesome. So we're getting people coming on here. Let me see. Comments. Penny, you're right. Overwhelmed. We all are, right? That's just how it is. Oh, there's Ryan. What's up, man? Awesome. Thanks for being here. So, all right, we will dive into this. We're hitting 8:32, so we know people will pop in periodically. They'll be late, but let's get going. Team splits, guys. I know last week we talked about, I kind of polled you guys what you wanted to see next, and overwhelmingly, as expected, team splits were what you guys wanted to see. You know, it's a real hot button for agents, especially for team leaders. Agents are always wanting to know, what split works? How can I retain agents? Does the split, is it really a big deal, right? So when we go through this, just like everything, and I say it almost every week, we're in a business that is not black and white, right? And splits are definitely a gray area. So my goal for today is to kind of go through my thoughts. The great thing about me being a Compass agent and in the grind with you guys is I can share what's been successful for me. It might not necessarily work perfect for your team, but I think the goal would be to take 2 or 3 nuggets that I provide, and you can hopefully apply those to your goals and building your team the right way. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, one more click there, Andrew. All right. So I always like to review real quick about what we talked about last week. We talked about staff systems for you guys that might have missed. There were a couple deliverables, a simple contract to close list, and also a listing procedure list that I use for my team, for my admin and director of operations. The big thing was we discussed self-awareness, which I touch on every week, right? Building out your systems based off your strengths and weaknesses is always where you start. That goes along with finding your gap in your business, right? Where do you need the most help? If you're a back-end person that is super detailed, you might not need to focus so much on that. Most of us are salespeople. We like to be out in front of people, in front of the clients. So that back-end help is critical. So finding your gap, and always remembering, like today, there is no perfect system. It really, what works for your business. And then obviously we talked about the benefits of a system and putting systems in place, and how it empowers your agents. Not only you, but your agents. It makes communication so much easier between your team. It creates growth and allows you to grow and not feel like you're on that hamster wheel so much. And then ultimately it provides value to your team members to help you recruit. So, all right, let's get into splits. So you guys in the chat, as you go along, if you want to ask questions, I know there's going to be a lot of them. So I always like you to be engaged. We only have 30 minutes. I feel like this one's we're going to fill up this time really, really quick. So for you guys, I know you're asking, what system works perfect for me, right? What works for my team? Again, there's not a perfect way, guys. But my goal when we built out this team building platform was to kind of layer everything. And what you're seeing each week is how everything ties together. I know a lot of people say, oh, Tommy, you say a lot of the same things. Well, guys, there's a reason behind that. This business we're not, brain surgeons, right? It's simple processes, communication, and consistency, right? So a few weeks ago, we talked about the team model, right? So your split has a lot to do with your team model. We talked about the Rainmaker model, the brokerage type model, the informal model, partnership, and expansion. So first, when you're looking to figure out what splits would work best for your team, you want to figure out what model you want to work off of. For me, it was the Rainmaker model, and we've kind of transformed into the brokerage model. And we'll get into that and how that applies into actual split situations here at the end. Be self-aware, guys. You'll hear me say it every week. My one-on-one coaching clients, the group clients, I say it every week. It is the key to being successful in this business. So you want to build your splits around your strengths and weaknesses. You know, you build your entire company, your systems, all of that around your strengths and weaknesses. So figuring out what those are key. Third, you got to keep it simple. People tend to get, as team leaders, very complicated in the beginning because they want to make sure they check every box with their team. And you know what? It's easy in the beginning, but the ultimate goal is you've always got to be thinking ahead, kind of like what I tell my agents. You know, if you're worried about what you're making this month on those 2 deals you're closing, that's not the right mindset. What your vision should be, how am I going to take this deal I'm closing in 2 weeks and turn it into 4 or 5? Same thing with setting up your team. Same things when you're thinking about your splits. It's easy in the beginning to make things complicated. But what I'm always thinking about is, okay, I have, if you're a new team, I have 1 or 2 agents, but what does this look like when I have 8 or 9 agents, right? How does that system work? Does it become more complicated? And I can assure you it will if you make it too complicated. I made those mistakes. And I'm telling you, if you have to scale back or change things, when you have 7 or 8 agents, it makes it very, very difficult. And then lastly, be ready to adjust. You know, so depending on the agents you're bringing in, the region of the country you're in, the way the market is trending, you've always got to be able to adjust your splits to fit the market. We're going to dive deep into that a little bit on how your typical old school way teams were set up with their splits have changed. I made an adjustment about 2 years ago, and it's really paid off for me. So we're going to get into that here in a little bit. So next slide. One more click too. So the thing is, and you've heard me say it before, and I told you guys in week 1, you know, teams are the future of the industry. When I joined Compass 4.5 years ago, I sat down with Robert Refkin. He told me that. He said, Tommy, in 5, 10 years, whatever it is, individual agents most likely will be out of this business. And I laughed. I was like, no way in hell, right? Today, if you told me that, I 1000% agree. The speed of the business, the way we operate, if you don't pick up your phone, that buyer or seller is moving on to the next person. Those buyers out there, they all have this in their hand, guys. It's a supercomputer, right? So they can find the school ratings, they can find the restaurants, they can find the directions to the home. So the business is moving so quick that the involvement of teams, I mean, just look at the last year, how many teams have grown and been implemented only just in Compass, right? So how many previous Keller Williams agents do we have on the call? Just say me or yes, or me. If you don't want to reply, type it in the chat. Okay. Team leader for Keller Williams. All right, Mary. Awesome. Hey, Leah Bell, what's up? All right. So here are my thoughts. 15, 20, and some of the agents I coach one-on-one with have heard this. You know, 15 years ago, if you wanted to start a real estate team, there was really only one place to go, right? That was Keller Williams. Do you agree? For the most part, right? Gary Keller, genius, right? He developed this model that was fantastic. But 15, 20 years ago, that Keller Williams model of a team, it was built all around the agent, the team leader, right? The person's name on the sign was the team leader, their face, the deal was closed out under the team leader. It was very buyer agent friendly. It was built on recruitment, right, Lee? Correct. But let's say I was a team leader back then, right? And I wanted a few agents and I brought a buyer agent onto my team. Let's say that buyer agent's next door neighbor, who's their best friend from college, says, hey, I want you to list my home. You know, what would happen is that deal would go directly to the team leader. They would list the home. Their face was on the name sign. It was all about the team leader. That agent got a referral, right? And I know in different regions it was different, right? And that worked, but it was all about the team leader. That has changed. Today, multiple things. Branding is key for agents on a team, right? And team branding is key to being successful. That's what our business is, right? And it's tough to do that in a typical old school team leader is the king model. Your agents want to have a little bit of brand. They want to be themselves. And ultimately, it's simple supply demand, right? Think about the housing market. When there's a lot of inventory, the demand goes down, prices go down. Today, guys, you can go to every major brokerage, look into every major brokerage, and they are starting to structure their companies based off the team model. So there's a lot more options. There's simply more supply. So if you're a really good agent or a really good buyer agent on a team and you're not getting the exposure and the branding you're wanting, you're just going to go across the street and go to the next brokerage. 15, 20 years ago, that really wasn't an option, right? So the old way of doing things, you can see is starting to fade out. You've got to give your teams a little more flexibility, a little more of their own brand. And that's what Compass allows us to do, leverage the Compass brand, but also create a team brand that can provide value to your team members. So we're going to get into that a little bit more as we go into the next slide. All right, so when we're looking to build out your team splits, and I know you guys are wanting me to get into numbers, we'll get there, don't worry. Here's some factors, right? It's difficult. Douglas and I were chatting about this prior to getting on here, right? You know, it's difficult building out a team. People think it's easy, but if you just look at the splits, right? It's not just a simple split, right? It's where's that lead coming from? Was it a Compass referral? Did it come from the team leader, the rainmaker? Did it come from that individual agent sphere of influence? Did it come from an open house? Was it team generated open house or was it from that individual agent? These are all things you have to factor in when you're building out your splits. And to be honest, to this day, when I do my yearly contracts, I'm adding and plugging and pulling away stuff because our business is always changing and we're always thinking about something. So, you know, back to the old model of doing things, when that agent brought their next door neighbor to that team lead, they got a small referral, guys. And then it was all about the team leader, right? That doesn't work anymore, guys, because the minute your team member tastes success, they think they can do it on their own. Do you agree? Right? Yes or no in the comments?
Yep.
Yeah. The minute. So retention is critical. Supply demand, guys. There's plenty of opportunities for really good agents to go to any real team they want out there right now. That used to not be the case. So you can't keep collecting deals from agents on your team and giving them small referrals, right? You've got to let them, you know, my team's a little bit different. A lot of teams are shifting to this model. I have transitioned from the rainmaker to the traditional brokerage, right? So I run my team kind of like a brokerage within a brokerage. So I give them the flexibility, right? My people list. They also handle buyers. And I know I'm going into a little more detail off of the splits, but the whole point is that in order to retain these agents, you've got to create an environment where they can be themselves. Yes, you're going to have standards and they're going to work under your brand and what you expect. But if you want to retain good agents, guys, you've got to let them be themselves, right? And splits are one way you can do that. You can no longer take 50% from an agent on a deal that they generated from their sphere of influence. They'll be gone the minute they start making money, because they're going to look at it and go, what the hell am I doing paying this person, paying in this team leader? You know, unless the value you are providing is absolutely through the roof. So, all right, I think we're going to try to get, Andrew, can you get that example up on the page of a commission structure?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
I sent it in PDF too, but I think I sent it to Deborah. So what we're going to do, if you guys want to ask some questions while he's working on that, I'm going to give you a sample commission structure of my team. I know a lot of coaches don't do that, but again, the fact that I'm a Compass agent, we're collaborating without ego. Is it going to be perfect for every one of you? Absolutely not, because I know depending on your region, splits are different, the way your teams are set up. But again, my ultimate goal is for you guys to take some nuggets out of this and apply this to your team to hopefully provide some value. So, and this is, we're going to be able to talk about this for hours, guys. So after this, if you want to send me an email or have any other questions, we're going to make this available to you guys via email. So just kind of keep that in mind. So let's see. Oh, we got it. Perfect. All right. Deborah just put the link up there as well. All right. So everything starts with your split. One thing that I do is I don't work when I write up my team agreements. I do not write. I do not tell them they are working off 100%. Everything is based off whatever your negotiated split with Compass is. So you can fill that in right there. Team split, right? For the most part, everyone pays some type of resource fee. So whatever percentage that is, you would put that in. Let's just say, for example, that team split, I'm going to just say 90%. So the value to come work on my team is that on this example would be, hey, agent, if you come to Compass today, for the most part, as an individual agent, one, you probably don't have the production to get in, but if you do, you're probably working at a minimum off of a much lower split, 20-25% lower than what I'm working at, right? So what I like to do, because of my strengths and weaknesses, I like to keep the back end of my operation simple, okay? A lot of agents I know pay for everything. For the team leads pay for everything. Their closing gifts, all of that stuff. I do not. I pay for a lot of the team branded marketing and team in the client events and all of that, but everything else, I have them taking care of that. I have that mindset of, I want to run this like if I was my own brokerage, right? Additional agent costs. Again, guys, they pay a flat fee on the buyer side of their listing transaction, and on the buyer side transaction, and a flat fee on the listing side. Obviously, the listing side's a little bit more because there's a lot more to it. The attachments you see there, a lot of that was the contract to close and the listing procedures that you received yesterday. Those are all what apply that our operations manager would do. Now, here's the thing. People say, why don't you just, how do you get away from that? I have them pay as much as possible. I want them to have skin in the game. Perfect, Nathaniel. Me too. I agree with that. So the reason I do this is because it's kind of silly, but I think you guys will agree with me. when you're negotiating a split with a team member, if you drop their split 1%, they throw a fit. But if you add on a $275 or $475 transaction fee, but keep their split the same, it doesn't bother them as much. I don't know why. I don't know why it's a thing, but guys, we've all been through it. People are obsessed about the split, right? That's also why all of these percentages down here are based off what my team split is. It's not based off 100%. So if we were using 90% as an example on generated deals from myself or the team, they're paying in 50% off of that 90%, not 100%. I present it that way because, again, to them, it looks like it's less, even though it's not. Thanks, Jeremy. So I'm going to go through this chart, right? Because it looks complicated, but it's not. So for example, again, I know everyone's split's different, but 90 is easy to use for simple math. I was never good in college at math. So let's use 90% as a split. Let's just forget the resource fee because that confuses people, but you guys can do the math and add that in. So let's just say it's a flat 90%. So on I keep it simple, guys. That's my weakness. I've never been very detailed, never been very organized. So I'm going to keep the back end of my operations simple. In the beginning, I tried to do this staggered. Oh, when you get to this, you're at this percentage. You get to this, you get to this percentage. You get to this. That's great when you have one agent. Try having 10, and then they all talk to each other. And, oh, Sally's on this. Oh, Steve's on this. Oh, Ingrid's on this. Nightmare, guys. Keep it simple. So any deal that's generated from me, which that's a big part of my team and one of the biggest value adds to being on my team, it's 50% paid into me. So that's coming off the 90%. All right. We'll get into the intermediary here, Jeremy. That's a great question. So I have two splits on the team for the most part. Team members, once you hit 3, and again, guys, keep in mind, I know different markets, all of that. DFW average sale price is 400,000. So it's different than looking at New York or San Francisco, but you guys can make your adjustments. Up until 3 million in sales, you're on an 85-15. Again, that 15% is paid into the team. That's coming off the 90%. It's not coming off the 100. So you as a team leader, the net is 15%. Keep that in mind. Yes, correct, Nathaniel. Once they get over 3 million, that goes to 10%. These are on their generated deals, guys. 2 years ago, I had agents all over the country tell me I was a fool. I was giving up too much, right? Now, most of them have switched to a similar model because, guys, I want high producing agents. I want agents out there that can produce. I can't take 40-50% from their deal when they're selling their mother's house that they generated from their sphere of influence. It doesn't happen. I know it sounds great because you can make some more money, but they're going to leave you in a year, right? People don't leave my team. The only people that leave my team is when I ask them to leave. So, so on their generated deals, if you see the notes on the side, there's two structures. From their sphere of influence, 15% paid in until 3 million, over 3 million goes to 10%. Simple, super simple, right? On my deals that are handed out or generated from the team, 50-50, super simple. Now below this gets into the more details. You guys take what you want from it because there's a lot of what ifs in this business, right? I'm still figuring out these what ifs. So let's say one of the value adds on my team is I work with a lot of high-end developers. So a lot of times I'll have a high-end development listed with, $2, $3, $4 million spec homes. Well, let's say a team member holds that house open, right? Heck, that's a great opportunity, right, for a team member. let's say someone walks in and wants to buy that home, or that team member picks up that buyer to go look at other homes. Most likely, if they walk into a $3 million home, they're looking to buy a $3 million home. So for the first 2 transactions with that client, they're on the 50-50 split. So hopefully that client has a home to sell, and then they go and buy a home the next month with that agent on my team. Those first 2 transactions will be 50-50. After that, that is my team member's client. Again, a lot of people disagree with that. I'm not telling you this is the way to do it, but for me, I do not want to keep up, and I do not want to put a system in place where I track these clients. I want my team members to be able to do that. That is their client. So the benefit is when they call them in 3 or 4 years to list their home, they're going to be either on that 15 or 10% split with that client. Again, I'm giving them the flexibility. I'm giving them the ability to grow their business. I'm not being greedy, right? I've learned if you keep that 50-50 split throughout the life of that client, 1, as a team leader, that's one more thing you've got to track and you're going to mess it up. 2, your agent who had handled that client loses interest in them quickly. Does the reset generally especially curious about the first 2 deals? No, it doesn't reset on the first 2 deals. Great question, Scott. Personal residence, that's just here in DFW. I don't know if that's all over the country. They just charge agent a flat fee. Compass does a small flat fee if they want to list or purchase a personal residence. I don't collect on that. I don't think that's the right thing to do. If they're buying their dream home, I don't need to make a commission off that. Intermediary listings. Again, some of you around the country might, I know you can't do intermediary. That's where you can work both sides of the deal. Some of you can, so this might not apply to everyone. And I'm kind of zipping through this because I know we only have a few more minutes. Actually, we're going to skip that. That's going to be a long conversation. I want to get to the end of this. But basically, agents agree if I hand them a deal from a buyer that I pick up, they agree to go and write in that contract for 1%, right? Because a lot of times on those deals, if we get both sides, I have to adjust the commission down from 6 to 5 or 5 to 4. Well, I don't want to take the hit. The agent on my team should take the hit because I'm just handing them a deal. How involved am I in their transactions? I'm not as much. My operations manager runs the entire transaction on the back end for them. I'm copied on emails, but my goal is to, I'm not going to micromanage them. I'm going to show them how to be successful up front, and I'm going to let them do their thing. Operations manager is compensated. We talked about that last week. Nathaniel, I can talk to you offline about that. And then lastly are just the rentals. I know in some markets, rentals aren't a big thing. Here, we do about 15 rentals a year. You don't make much money. You basically split 1 month's rent between the buying agent and seller agent. So I'm very lenient on what my team members would pay in on a rental. On the bottom, there's just a few simple notes that are kind of explaining what's going on up here in the chart. So I know we're at 9 o'clock. I don't know, Deb, can I go over a couple minutes? Is that all right to answer some questions?
Yes, you can.
Okay, you can just yell at me when you tell me. So what do you guys got for me? I know this is probably a 2-session deal. And we kind of had to cram it into 30 minutes. So I'm looking at some questions here.
Referral, lots of questions about
referral biz. Great. We're at Compass. That's one of the greatest things about Compass. Referrals, national referrals. That's a tough thing. Because if Douglas sends me a referral and he wants 25%, and I hand that to an agent on my team, they're paying in 50% plus 25% plus off my split. A lot of agents don't like that. I'll be honest with you. I don't have a set way I handle that. I run my business by feel, by instinct, right? It depends on the deal, depends on where the deal is coming from. A lot of times I do the 50-50 because you know what? If it wasn't for me generating that business, that agent on my team wouldn't have gotten the deal, right? I look at it as, my old company, Coldwell Banker, back in the day, I did a lot of relocation business with Cardis. And when it was all said and done, I made like 0.5%, whatever, 0.5% on the deals. But you had to look at it as, this is a client that I can gain business from, some referrals to. A lot of times though, I'll just, depending on the deal, the price point, I'll go to the agent and say, hey, just give me 30%, right? To help them out a little bit with the split. Does the 85-15 reset January 1? And is that also a lifetime achievement like the first two deals? 85-15 does reset at the beginning of the year. But again, instinct feel. For example, I have a $27 million producer on my team. I don't reset them every year. Why the hell would I do that? That extra 5%, I want to retain that agent. So I don't reset theirs, but for the most part, I do reset everyone on the teams, but that's totally up to you. 25% off the top or agent commission. I'm not sure what you're probably talking about the referral. I'm not following you there. So the ICA agreement, again, everyone does it different around the country. They calculate, they have their own ICA agreement, but their own team agreement with me, which Compass sets up their ICA agreement to basically in a nutshell says, yeah, Compass is the broker, but you work for Tommy. That's how it is all over the country. And we're going to get into that next week with how to recruit agents, right? That's going to be another hot topic. And we're going to talk about how we leverage these splits and the value of our team. And most importantly, what Compass has to provide. We can go, Andrew, if you want to bring back up the slides so we can wrap it up. But we're going to get into agent recruitment next week and talk about how we can leverage Compass, guys. I'm telling you, the fact that you are at Compass, the ability to grow a team over the next 6 months, it's time, guys, because the market's changing and what Compass has the value to provide is value, and the way they allow us to set up our teams, it's going to be very, very lucrative if you're wanting to add agents over the next 6 months, because those agents that are starting to struggle from outside brokerages, they need that support. They've got the FOMO of Compass. So thank you, Jane. I know I had to zip through this super fast. We're running over a little bit. But I know splits are a big thing. So I know Deborah doesn't want you guys to email me. So, but if you guys want to talk, I'm happy to go into more depth with you guys. If you have any questions. So next week, we're going to dive into recruitment, how we recruit top talent to our team. Again, guys, thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. I know it's real early for a lot of you guys. Again, thank you. So you guys have a great rest of your week. Okay.
Hey, Tommy.
Yeah.
If anybody's coming to the retreat, I just posted, we've got the happy hour that we're trying to get at the Irish pub. If you want to tell people, email
that would be
Darlene
great.
and I.
How many people are on here, right? Yeah, we got 42. So whoever's going to the retreat, myself and a few of the CSC agents, and especially the ones that I coach, we're trying to put together a separate little smaller happy hour. I know we've got the big event with Chirag and all of us on Tuesday night. That's going to be amazing. But if you're in town Monday, we were just going to kind of do a little small thing at this Irish pub. Lee and Darlene, who are on here, are helping me put it together.
Email us.
They're from Atlanta, so you can definitely reach out to them with any questions. So
Lee, do you want to just drop your email in the chat box if anybody wants to reach out?
So I can do it real quick. It's Lee and Darlene at compass.com, but I can do it real quick.
Perfect. Tommy, this was a great session. I know we're moving on to recruitment and stuff. There are a few questions still left in the chat box about marketing and stuff like that. And I think, Tommy did go through like the flat fees based on how he felt his structure was best, but it's really, these are, I think honestly, it all starts with the recruitment, and I think it'll answer all those questions that you have going forward on other expenses and how to handle them. It is going to depend on how qualified the agent is, if they're new, if they're seasoned, and then you're going to make adjustments from there. So I think the next session will help you wrap your minds around all those other expenses that you're thinking about.
Awesome. Thank you, Deborah. Hey, I appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good one.
Take care.
Survey. I always forget about the damn survey. I appreciate you guys if you fill that out. Thank you so much.
Disregard the third question. Sorry about that. But if anybody does have an admin on this call, today at 12, we are doing operations training. Every admin has been invited, but if you have an admin and you think they might not know about it, please feel free to reach out to me so they can be included. Every week we do a session with the admins. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day and have a great weekend.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Take care.